All right, today we're diving into one of the most epic, most documented, and honestly, one of the most surprisingly modern conflicts of the ancient world, the Battle of Kadesh. I mean, just imagine this for a second. You have two ancient superpowers throwing literally everything they've got at each other. We're talking thousands of soldiers, the most advanced military tech of the day, only for it to end, well, in a draw. That's pretty much what happened here. And believe me, what came next changed everything. So we're going to start right in the thick of it, with one of the most dramatic moments in all of military history. This was so much more than just a battle. This was a straight-up masterclass in deception. Okay, let's set the scene. The year is 1274 BCE. We're smack in the middle of the late Bronze Age, a time of these huge, colossal empires and just epic showdowns. And on a plain in what's now modern-day Syria, things are about to get very, very real. So the Hittite king, a guy named Muwatalli II, he lays this absolutely brilliant trap. He tricks the Egyptian pharaoh, Ramesses II, into thinking the entire Hittite army is miles and miles away, but they weren't. They were hiding. And as one of the Egyptian army divisions, the Ra division, marches forward, boom, thousands of Hittite chariots just smash into their side. It was pure, absolute chaos. Now, according to the Egyptian records, this is where the whole story pivots. With his army totally falling apart, the young pharaoh Ramesses II personally, and I mean personally, rallies his men and leads this insane, desperate countercharge. It was a moment of just pure guts that somehow saved his entire army from being completely wiped out.
So you might be wondering, how did we even get here? You've got this moment of chaos, this heroic charge, but what was it all for? To really get it, we need to zoom out and look at the two giants who dominated this part of the world.
You can kind of think of this as the ancient world's version of the Cold War, but with chariots instead of nukes. On one side, you've got the incredible Egyptian Empire, and on the other, the super tough Hittite Empire. These were the two absolute superpowers of their time, and they were on a collision course.
And leading these empires were two totally different guys. You had Ramesses II of Egypt, who was young, he was ambitious, and he was really itching to restore his empire's glory. And then you had Muwatalli II of the Hittites, who was this wily, cunning strategist, just dead set on protecting his turf. So this was a personal showdown just as much as it was an imperial one.
Now, let's do a little tale of the tape here, because the tech difference is fascinating. The Egyptians had these four huge army divisions, all named for their gods. Their big weapon was a light, super fast two-man chariot. Think of it as a zippy little sports car, perfect for quick strikes. The Hittites, though, they brought a bigger army, and they used these heavier three-man chariots, basically mobile tanks. It was speed versus power.
So what were they willing to risk all this for? A single city, Kadesh. But Kadesh was everything. It was the key to the whole region. If you controlled Kadesh, you controlled the money-making trade routes and all the rich farmland in Syria. This wasn't just about pride, folks. This was about serious power and serious wealth.
Eventually, the actual fighting on the battlefield stopped. But that's when a whole other war began. A war for the story, a war for history itself.
So after that crazy ambush, the wild countercharge, and hours of just brutal, brutal fighting, what was the final score? Well, it was a bloody tie. Neither army could land the final blow. Both sides were just exhausted, totally battered, a classic stalemate. But you would never, ever know that if you just looked at the walls of Egyptian temples. See, Ramesses gets back to Egypt and launches what you could basically call history's first major PR campaign. He plastered the walls of these massive temples, like Karnak and Abu Simbel, with his version of the story, a heroic, single-handed victory against completely impossible odds. I mean, listen to this. It really just says it all. In his official accounts, Ramesses makes himself out to be this lone warrior god, just scattering the entire Hittite army all by himself. It's truly magnificent propaganda, even if it, conveniently leaves out the whole stalemate part. But here's the thing. Even though it's totally biased, this propaganda is absolutely priceless to historians. Why? Because these are the earliest detailed accounts of a battle in all of history. They give us this incredible window into Bronze Age tactics, the crucial role of getting good intel, and what happens when you don't, and of course, the raw power of spinning a good story. And this is where the story takes its most surprising turn. I mean, you think a bloody tie and a propaganda war would just lead to decades of bitterness, right? But instead, it led to something that nobody saw coming. Now, peace didn't just happen overnight. It actually took more than a decade. After the battle, both empires kind of went back to their corners, licked their wounds, and had to face a pretty critical fact. Neither one of them could actually destroy the other. And it was that mutual respect, born out of this bloody draw, that actually paved the way for peace. And wow, what a peace it was. Around 1259 BCE, Ramesses II and the new Hittite king signed what is now one of the first and definitely one of the most famous international peace treaties ever found. In fact, a replica of it hangs in the United Nations headquarters today. How cool is that? The terms themselves were really thorough. They set up clear borders, a non-aggression pact, but what made this treaty so revolutionary for its time was that it was built on equality. See, back then, the winner would usually crush the loser, demand tribute, take slaves, but this agreement treated both empires as equals, which was pretty much unheard of. They weren't just ending a war, they were building a real, stable, international relationship. So why does this ancient battle still matter so much to us? Because the story of Kadesh is way more than just chariots and spears. It's about the birth of propaganda as we know it, the real complexities of war, and this truly radical idea that sometimes the path to lasting peace doesn't start with a clear winner. And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Kadesh proves that recognizing an enemy's strength can actually be the first step to making them an ally. It really makes you wonder, what's that tipping point that finally turns bitter rivals away from conflict and toward cooperation?